You're not getting dumber, but thinking feels harder than it used to. Not in an obvious way, not like you suddenly lost intelligence, but in small moments. You sit down to read something and your mind drifts after a few lines. You try to focus on a task and it feels heavier than it should. Even simple thinking, like planning your day or solving a problem, takes more effort than before. And the strange part is, you know you can think, but it doesn't feel as natural anymore. And most people explain this in a very surface-level way. They say, I'm just distracted. I need more discipline. I need to try harder. But that explanation doesn't go deep enough, because even when you remove distractions, something still feels different, like your brain is resisting depth. And that's because this isn't just about distraction. Your brain is adapting to a completely different environment than it was designed for. There was a time when thinking had a rhythm. You would sit with one idea and stay there. Reading a book wasn't a battle. Solving a problem didn't feel like pushing against resistance. Your brain would move step by step, building understanding, making connections, holding attention without constantly checking something else. This type of thinking is called deep cognitive processing, and it depends on a few key conditions: stable attention, low interruption, predictable input. But those conditions don't exist the same way anymore. Now think about how your brain is used today. You wake up and check your phone. You scroll through multiple pieces of information in seconds: short videos, quick posts, headlines, notifications. Your brain is exposed to dozens, sometimes hundreds, of microstimuli before the day even begins. Each one requires a tiny shift in attention, and your brain adapts. Instead of learning to stay, it learns to switch, fast, efficiently, constantly. So over time, your brain becomes optimized for scanning, not thinking deeply. To understand this properly, you need to understand dopamine differently. Dopamine is not just about pleasure. It's about anticipation. It activates when your brain expects something new or potentially rewarding. And modern platforms are designed around this system. Every scroll is a gamble. Maybe the next video is better. Maybe the next post is more interesting. Maybe something surprising appears. This unpredictability creates a powerful loop. Your brain stays engaged, not because it's satisfied, but because it expects something better next. This is called a variable reward system, and it's extremely effective at training behavior. So your brain starts expecting constant novelty, quick rewards, low effort, engagement. Now, compare that to thinking deeply, reading a book, studying, working through a problem. These activities don't give immediate rewards. They require effort, patience, delayed payoff. So your brain doesn't reject them, but it perceives them as higher cost. This is where the experience changes. Before, deep thinking felt neutral. Now, it feels heavy, because your brain is comparing it to a new baseline. Fast content equals easy, rewarding. Deep thinking equals slow, effortful. So even though your ability hasn't disappeared, your experience of thinking has changed. It feels like pushing, like resistance, like something you have to force. There's another layer happening at the same time. Your attention system is becoming fragmented. Instead of holding one continuous stream of thought, your brain is used to interruptions. Even when you sit down in a quiet room, part of your brain is still expecting a notification, a new input, a change. So your attention splits. One part tries to focus, another part stays alert for something else. And that split reduces depth. You're thinking, but not fully. Multitasking feels productive, but neurologically, it's not true multitasking. It's rapid switching. And every time you switch tasks, your brain drops the previous thread slightly. So instead of building deep understanding, you build fragmented pieces of understanding. Over time, this becomes your default. You're not thinking less. You're thinking in shorter bursts. Your brain evolved in a completely different world, a slower world, a quieter world, a world with fewer inputs and longer attention spans. Now, in a single day, your brain processes more information, more visuals, more emotional signals than it used to handle over much longer periods. So your brain adapts in the only way it can. It prioritizes filtering, scanning, quick evaluation instead of deep analysis, because deep analysis is too slow for the environment. Here's something most people don't recognize. Even if you're not physically tired, your brain can be overloaded. Every decision you make uses mental energy. What to eat, what to watch, what to reply, what to click. Now multiply that across an entire day. Hundreds of micro decisions, constant input, constant processing. This creates cognitive fatigue. And when that builds up, thinking becomes slower. Not because you can't think, but because your brain is already partially exhausted. Think about this. You sit down to study. Within minutes, you check your phone. You open another tab. You think about something unrelated. Not because you don't care, but because your brain is used to switching. Or you try to read a book. And after a few pages, it feels tiring. Not boring, just mentally heavy. That's not lack of intelligence. That's a trained attention pattern. This is where people get it wrong. They think, I'm just lazy. I don't have discipline. I've lost my focus. But that's not accurate. Because the system you're in is shaping your brain. Your behavior is not happening in isolation. It's responding to an environment. Your brain is not broken. It's adapting. That's what it's designed to do. If you train it on fast input, constant novelty, rapid switching, it becomes efficient at that. But that efficiency comes at a cost. Reduced depth, reduced patience for slow thinking. So the real shift isn't intelligence, it's thinking style. From deep to shallow, slow to fast, focused to scattered. And once that shift happens, deep thinking feels unfamiliar. So the real question isn't, why can't I think like I used to? The real question is, what has my brain been trained to expect? Because your brain follows patterns, and right now, it's following the patterns of the modern world. Fast, fragmented, constant. And until those patterns change, thinking will continue to feel harder. Not because you lost something, but because your brain adapted to something new.